Not every side hustle is a good side hustle, especially if you're already exhausted. A lot of side hustle advice focuses on income potential. I think teachers also need to think about energy cost. So, here's some side hustles that you should avoid at all costs if you're already teetering on the edge of burnout. Anything that requires constant availability. So, that could be constant um, answering phones or chats, uh, constant appointments back to back to back with different clients, or being on call. Flexible doesn't always mean low energy, right? So just because you have flexible hours doesn't mean that it's going to inherently respect your energy. So just be aware of that. Side hustle two would be anything live stream heavy. So if something that's going to require a lot of like performance type energy, needing to show up repeatedly on camera, and project, a certain type of persona, um, that can be really difficult if your own personal energy is already bopping around and a bit unpredictable, right? So, side hustle three to avoid would be very high volume content businesses. So, when you hear about different content creators talking about how they're creating different, XYZ products, that's great. And, you know, there is still a workload that goes into making content, especially good content. Uh, and so just because it's online content doesn't mean that it's going to be low workload. Um, and just as a side note, you might have heard about like the whole faceless YouTube video phenomenon. And I actually would caution you to avoid that too, just because, when you want to be creating this business, you, in the side income, you want to be able to connect with people. And it's very difficult, if not impossible, to do that when they can't see your face. So just keep that in mind. Um, Side hustle four to avoid would be any kind of business that has a huge upfront learning curve. Um, whether that's you needing to know how to sell complicated funnels, digital funnels, or very complicated software tools that you may not have ever used, um, or really anything that makes you feel like you're going to have to put in quite a bit of time and effort into learning. You don't want to start with that. You want to start with something fairly easy for you because of your schedule and your energy that you have available. Side hustle five, you want to avoid anything that you already strongly dislike doing. Because as you are starting to add on this extra side income, you know, it would be a bonus to you and your life and the people in it if it was something that you enjoyed, right? Excuse me. Um, and so avoid committing to something that is extremely difficult or that you strongly dislike. So if, for example, in your teacher job, you hate anything to have to do with spreadsheets, you probably don't want to turn into a spreadsheet entrepreneur. It's probably not going to heal that relationship you have with spreadsheets. Um, so try to be thinking about something that you actually enjoy. So in closing, I'm not saying that these are bad side hustles, like period. I'm just saying that if you are, already kind of running on fumes in your teaching job, um, they may not be your first choice when you are looking into what you can do sustainably to start adding on that extra side income. All right. And don't forget, I have a freebie listed for you below about 7 low energy side hustles for exhausted teachers. I hope you check that out. And I hope to see you back here soon. Take care. Bye.